Hello everyone, welcome back to the Indian Polity lecture series for the Civil Services examination. Today we are going to discuss on video lecture number 9. I will encourage those who have not watched the previous 8 videos kindly go back and watch them so that you have a better understanding to basically getting an insight to the further classes. Now we are going to discuss today one of the interesting topic regarding comparison of Indian constitution schemes with that of other countries. That means how our constitution is different from different countries' constitution. Let's say the comparison between Indian's constitution and its provisions with that of provisions of, let's say, USA, Japan, Germany, UK, as well as like Canada. So we are going to discuss the uniqueness of our Indian constitution and comparing with the different types of countries provisions and its own constitution. Let us start. First thing, our constitution is written constitution. Now what do you mean by written constitution? Now the constitution is being classified into two types. One is written and the one is unwritten. Now what is written? Written means, of course it is written, but does that mean unwrittens are not written? Of course not. Unwrittens are also written. But what makes the difference between written and unwritten constitutions? The written constitutions are codified. However, unwritten constitutions are not codified. Let me give you to give you much more insight. Let me give you one example for India. Now, our Indian constitution, look at how beautifully and ornamentally it is being crafted. Now, it is duly codified starting from Article 1, that is Union and its territory, the Part 1, Union and its territory, the Part 2, its citizenship. Then when the people are there, the Part 3 is required, that is related to the fundamental rights. Then the Part 4, then the Part 4A, then the Part 5 regarding the Union, the Part 6 regarding the states, so on and so forth. So our Indian constitution is duly codified, and this is also known as one of the lengthiest written constitution because not only it has the broad framework but also it has a detailed administrative structures. It has also explained that the rules, the responsibility, the functions of different departments as well as the three wings of our government. Similarly, we are also having a separate type, that is unwritten. Unwritten means that it is not codified, which means the British Constitution is an act of the unwritten character of the Constitution. There, those constitutions are primarily by the conventions or the different types of practices, but they are not codified the way we have codified our own constitution. In the French Constitution, let us understand, it is only democratic constitution based on the principle of supremacy of the executive, where the executive is the powerful. Remember, here the constitution is powerful. In India, in British, the parliament is powerful, parliament is supreme. In France, who is the supreme? It is the executive which is supreme. Now next point which you are going to understand is whether our constitution is flexible or rigid on those matters, how our constitution differs from other countries. Now India is a blend of both flexibility as well as rigid. Now I will encourage you people, those who do not understand the flexibility and rigidity, kindly go back to the video on the topic of features of the constitution. Then you will be better understanding what you mean by flexibility and rigidity. Just give you a nutshell. Flexibility means it is very easy to amend the constitution. Rigidity means it is very difficult to amend the constitution. So India is both. That means certain parts of our Indian constitution is very flexible and certain parts of our Indian constitution is very rigid. That means, like for example, the president articles, election articles are very rigid. Now on the other hand, British parliament or the British constitution is extremely flexible in nature. Why? Because the parliament is supreme. Whenever they want, they'll be able and they'll be making those amendments to their own constitution. Now the USA constitution is rigid. Minimum 3/4 of majority is required to amend the constitution. All the provisions of the USA constitution is rigid. Now France constitution can be changed by the rigid procedure requiring a resolution to get passed by the 60% of majority in the both houses of the parliament. However, the president has one special power to refer the amendment to the people for the referendum. Now this is a new topic for the, what is mean by referendum? Referendum means like for example, now in India we are having only election procedure for voting to the representative. But referendum means, for example, we need a policy, and basically we do not know whether the parliament is making a right decision or not. So in France, what happens? The president can issue that particular referendum, particular policy to in front of the public. So the public will directly vote. It is not the representative will vote. It is the people will vote directly, whether in favor of the particular policy or are against a particular policy. So Germany, now in Germany, which we are having constitution rigid in sense, basic law can be amended by an absolute two-thirds majority of the majority, with a simple two-third majority of the Bundestag, that is the lower house and upper house, which is being mentioned. So if you are not able to remember these terms, so try to remember only the rigidity and flexibility types of constitution. Japan, it has a rigid constitution. So far what we have understood, that USA, France, Germany, Japan has a rigidity terms. However, the rigidity varies also from countries to country. Now, going next, let us understand the unitary and the federal structure. What do you mean by unitary? Unitary means there is only one type of system which controls the entire country. Federal means there will be like a federal government also. A decentralization system is called as federal. So what is India? India is a both it is unitary as well as the federal system. Already we have discussed in the previous lecture regarding the federal nature of our country. Now British in other way is sovereign. That means if the British Parliament has to be sovereign, then definitely it has to be what? Unitary. It cannot be federal. It cannot give away the power. So it has to control and take the power with themselves only. Now on the other hand, the USA American Constitution is truly federal, which means there is a central law as well as the federal courts, as well as the states. So other states, they have their own an independent executive body and legislature and judiciary body, and similarly at the center also they are having. However, it is extremely federal in nature. They are not unitary. Germany is federation, but the residuary powers in the Germany lies with the state. Interestingly, in India, India is a quasi-federal body where the residuary powers lies with the center. Here with the Germany, the residuary power lies with the states. So this is one unique point which you need to understand and remember. Going next, types of the government. We know that we are having two types of government, primarily the parliamentary form of government and presidential form of government. India has adopted for the parliamentary form of government. Uh, there was also question that why did India choose for the parliamentary form of government. So there are many answers to it. I'm not going to discuss on the particular question. So parliamentary form of government, which means that the people will vote, elect their own representative, and that is how the representative will primarily be responsible to regulate the affairs of the government. But in case of the presidential system, that means the people will directly vote to the or elect to the president of that particular country. Now British is a parliamentary form of government. All of you know that there is a queen or the king. Currently there is a queen, and the prime minister also is available in the British. However, the queen does not have the actual power. It is the prime minister who has the actual power. So Indian parliamentary system and British parliamentary system are moreover similar. There is only one simple difference, is that our president is also elected. However, the queen is hereditary in nature. Yeah, so the queen is not elected. That is selected from the bloodline. Now on the other hand, the USA or the American has a presidential form of government in which the president is elected directly by the people only. So the president is also not accountable to the House of the Congress and head of the state as well as the government. But in India, the prime minister is also accountable to the parliament. Interestingly, the USA, here in India our parliamentary term is 5 years. In USA the presidential term is 4 years. And interestingly, in India the one person can become prime minister as many times as it can, but in USA maximum 2 terms, that means 4 years plus 4 years is allowed. For example, Barack Obama, like 8 years they have extended. So in the France has some features of the parliament system, orders, and also the others presidential type of thereof. It is called a semi-presidential type of government. It's also similar like India, but there are certain differences between India as well as the France. So France president is directly elected by the people. It is presidential form of government. Also having some certain features like a blend system uh, for the term of 7 years, and there are nominated councils of minister headed by the prime minister. Interesting. See, here we are having both president as well as the prime minister. It's like a prime minister basically acts as subordinate to the president. Now, Japan has a parliamentary form of government with some features of British form of parliament, like Japan has also constitutional monarchy. I just told you that we do not have a constitutional monarchy. We have a elected president, though it is a nominal head of our country, but yes, it is elected. Now, comparing the sovereignty of the parliament, try to understand India as a country. Our Indian parliament is also sovereign, but not sovereign like British parliament, which means our Indian parliament and its sovereign character has to adhere to the Indian constitution. Now, any laws of the parliament can be subject to the judicial review. That means Supreme Court can struck down if it does not adhere to the provisions which are mentioned in the constitution. On the other hand, the sovereignty of the British parliament is absolute, and the parliament is the only legislative body. In France, the French constitution has a sovereignty parliament with limited powers. The legislature is clearly subordinate to the executive. Remember, executive is more powerful in the France. We have discussed about it. Article 337 of the French Constitution put a limitation on the legislative power of the parliament. So this is the sovereignty perspective and comparison that from India, that to other countries as well. Now let us understand president. All of us, we know that I have also mentioned in the previous slides that the Indian president is the head of the state. For example, article 52, article 53, these are related to the presidential article. Interestingly, Indian president is nominal head of the state, and all the rules, regulations as well as the laws are passed in the hands of the president, which means in the name of the president the entire laws are being executed. However, interestingly, but who is behind the face? It is the prime minister of our country. In USA, the president of USA holds the real executive power. Okay, so but that is not in the case in India. The president of USA holds the office a term of 4 years. I have already discussed about this point, and it can re-elect himself or herself only twice, but in India as many times as it can be. In France, the French president is the most powerful within the French system as well as amongst all other executives across the world democracies. France has a PM, we have already discussed. So it acts as assistant or the subordinate to the president, and the president is elected for a term. Currently now it is 5 years. Now in Germany has a parliamentary form of government, and it is called as chancellors of democracy. Chancellor is the PM. Now the way we are saying the prime minister of our country, so they say the chancellor of their own country, and the president is the constitutional head of the government. So these are the couple of comparisons from the perspective of the president. Now let us understand citizenship. All of us, we know India is having a single citizenship. That means there are different states, but we do not have a separate citizenship for each state. We have a single citizenship, that is Indian citizenship. Interestingly, the part 2 of our constitution, which prescribes the citizenship, if any person is interested to hold the citizenship of the country, then it is exclusive, which means the person cannot have dual citizenship, having Indian citizenship as well as that of other country. That is not possible at all. So if a person is Indian citizen, then the person cannot have any other citizenship. So that is a rule by law. Now in the British, what happened? British citizenship is liberal, which means to get a British nationality, one does not need to renounce or his or her citizenship of that country. That is not required at all. The USA, the American Constitution provides dual citizenship, which means at the center they are having a central citizenship, as well as each and every states they also offer the state citizenship. Similarly, France and Germany, they also have the dual citizenship structure. Now we have understood the comparison from the citizenship perspective as well. Further going, the comparison of Indian Constitution from the perspective of fundamental rights, fundamental duties, and directive principle of state policies. Now, India has borrowed this concept of fundamental rights from American Bill of Rights. Okay, so but interestingly, USA, the fundamental rights in the USA are absolute, which means, like for example, in India, all the fundamental rights are having certain reasonable restrictions, which means the government can put certain restrictions on each of the fundamental rights owing to the situations according to the law which has been prescribed in the constitution. But in USA, the fundamental rights are absolute in nature, which means the state cannot intervene into the fundamental rights of the particular citizen of the country. And Japan has also fundamental rights, but no such rights are mentioned in the Britain Constitution. Okay, so fundamental duties. Now, in terms, what are the fundamental duties? All of us we know, fundamental duties are basically the duties of a citizen towards its own country. Now, our constitution has borrowed these fundamental duties from the USSR. Now it is Russia, and no major countries has fundamental duties. Okay, so they do not exclusively mention. In fact, our constitution, since the beginning also, we didn't have the provision of the fundamental duties. Now later on it has been added. Coming to the directive principle, sometimes directive principle of state policies, it is also called as the fundamental of the governing procedure or the government. Now the Constitution of India contains the directive principles which are borrowed from the Irish Constitution. Okay, and the directive principles, this constitutes a very comprehensive economical, social and political program for a modern democratic state. Directive principles are not enforceable in nature, which means we cannot sue the government for not getting the privileges or the benefits which are mentioned in the directive principles. So these are the various types of comparisons which I have brought for you people in these slides to having a better understanding regarding the comparison of the Indian constitution schemes, that too of other countries and their provisions. So I'll encourage each of you to kindly go through the slides as well as the note down each and every point. These are very important for you people, and from the examination point of view also any questions can be asked. And with that, I hope you have enjoyed the lessons. For any kind of question, any kind of doubts, please feel free to shoot out. I'll be happy to resolve all of your queries. At the same time, I'm looking forward to see you again in the next lectures. Thank you for today.